communities get, have the conversation and it begins to seem like they're trying to do something punitive, that is when those communities have serious problems. And so we can certainly have all these conversations. I would just say we need to be really careful about how we have the conversation, because, you know, there are some other jurisdictions that aren't necessarily acting in good faith. But we always have, and that's why we haven't had a problem in the past.
So can, just to expedite this, can staff propose some language so I can get a sense from the council as to whether or not they support this?
Well, what are we trying to accomplish?
And it's create a strategy, like a strategy plan for if and when.
Address the homeless strategy, because it's gonna be with county and St. Helens. It's all of us, not just us. But
Right.
How we have to.
Well, if we want to come up with like a worksheet of resources so that if our police or others encounter folks that are temporarily unhoused, then we can probably come up with those resources. If we're talking about cracking open like our camping ordinance or something like
Yeah,
that,
first I was
that's
hearing
not
policy,
necessarily,
but
right.
wasn't sure.
No, I mean, literally, like, I would rather be proactive in establishing a plan than reactive, because I think that's probably where you start having risk, right? When you're not handling things properly, when you're not couching it. With the
Just
right
develop a homeless plan too general, too vague.
I don't know.
Would that rest with the county? Would the language be support the county's efforts?
Yes, maybe that's the right way.
Yeah, I think
Because
that,
we don't, as staff, have the capacity to enact or take that on, but we certainly would support the county's efforts.
Yeah, so if, we could, just as a city, advocate for that at the county level.
Do you guys need a goal to do that? I mean, that's, the council can, it's kind of, this is what, this has come up to other places. A lot of people are like, oh, we want to advocate. Well, like, they got this kind of, as an elected official to advocate for those things. So if there's something more specific or like policy direction for staff to be working on, that's really different than advocacy.
May I offer alternative? So it sounds like we may create a county commissioner liaison position too. We could have a conversation with whoever the liaison ends up being about, you know, working with the county and bringing back information on that. I don't know how eager county is to do much for the houseless situation.
Right, and doing nothing, I think, prohibits you from doing anything, right? By not having options and resources to offer folks, transition them, so.
There's just lots of ways you could direct this. So if there's some specific direction, I think that's helpful direction for staff.
Wow, great. When I was in the Economic Development Committee, there was a representation from the county and they would give them the updates from the county to the Economic Development team or committee. I'm just wondering, instead of having them be in that, or maybe if they still stay with that committee, but do we need a liaison in the county because they already come and report to us? I mean, I just trying to streamline.
And I guess my question to the council is what's the goal that you're trying to achieve with this? Or what's the specific direction you're asking staff as they think about what to put in the budget?
Maybe it'd be to complete a study on the homeless situation so that we have more information to evaluate what we do with it. I'm just trying to figure out what a goal would actually be.
And this goes back to, like, we have to be responsive to the community. And what I'm hearing from the community is there's an uptick of activity in Veterans Park. Portland is at our doorstep. They're actively moving folks, right? Which could cause a shakeup for, people moving and migrating across the state. It's top line item budget for the governor, right, is to address this issue. For us to flat-footed potentially, knowing there are all of these signals, I don't know, I would want to avoid that situation. So if a goal is not necessary around it, that's fine. But I think when someone says, what are you doing to prepare for this? We have to have an answer.
so we already have camping and other related ordinances that were adopted neutrally on their face, and that we have utilized in the past. So again, like the issue is there something specific which we could, and we reviewed those a year ago.
Yeah, I asked you about those.
Right, we reviewed the history around the adoption of those to make sure that, you know, everything was done correctly and also to make sure that, that we were addressing some needs. And I think that, there was a law that was passed last year that said there could be reasonable restrictions, and the problem with reasonable language is that in every other context, it's been held to be unconstitutionally vague because there's no such thing as a reasonable person. So, we all think we're reasonable, but a judge doesn't know what that means. So that's kind of where we're at. We have something that's working fast.
Andrew?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you start talking about going down the path of the plan, you really need to take a step back and you have to start with a needs assessment, right? And so we could have a goal on just, we don't know the extent of the problem, so we can't really go ahead and do a plan yet. And we have data at the county level on like housing insecurity at the local Scappoose level that you guys probably never seen. So just a thought, before a plan, what if we just see?
Or make sure that what we have aligns with the new law, right? Is there anything else, I guess maybe a gap analysis, is there anything else that needs to be done to protect?
Right, so there was the original Boise case, which we're in the Ninth Circuit. Then there was the Grants Pass case that changed what we could do. So throughout that, we've been monitoring. And so generally speaking, people have a right to sleep. But that doesn't mean, and we're not going to regulate, we're not trying to say that people can't sleep, but then there are reasonable restrictions around health and safety for their own safety, for the people that aren't housed for their own safety. And that's where we have the ability to kind of create a framework, and that's what we've done in the past. So there's been no change in the law that would invalidate what we have currently on the books.
Megan, and then we need to get some closure on this because we still have parks and infrastructure to tackle. Megan?
I guess I'm just still not quite sure what the actionable is, what people are seeking. I don't know in the room what people want. I know at the county level, they provide the resources. Everyone from Scappoose goes to the county resources. That's just how it works. We don't have it. Same thing for the schools. So I'm just curious, like, do people just want to have a work session with the county and understand what's happening? Do they want to know what resources are out there?
Yeah, I am hearing that, there's understanding some of the gaps and what current data exists from the county. But I don't hear that there's a clear understanding of, is this a problem for the city to solve or not? So I don't know if you guys need that as a goal to gather some information from the county, or if you guys already have a liaison that's like working on a county homelessness task force or something.
We have.
I mean, we can look into it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a goal. We can always do it, but I don't know how to word it for a goal.
I mean, like every community mental health, all the stuff, it's there. It's in St. Helens. It's
Well,
the
it
county
could-
does it, not us.
Be that it needs to be a work session to invite the county to explain what the resources are available, so that if there is a question from the community, as counselors, you can provide that information.
Do we even know if it's the county's responsibility for sure though, and not each jurisdiction's?
Homeless services fall with the counties in Oregon. Yes,
Yeah.
that is very clear.
A lot of that is out of public health, so we do that all the time.
Okay, I don't know that you guys, I feel like there's maybe not enough information yet at this stage. I'm not hearing a clear goal board on it, but it sounds like there's a desire to have a work session to figure out what the county is doing. And then maybe that can help you guys figure out what the next steps are here. Okay, all right, are we okay with that? Okay, let's talk about parks. Who's our parks team?
We agree with the staff recommendation for the writing of this goal to be develop a diverse and accessible park system for people of all abilities.
Okay.
The goal remains update the parks and recreation plan, so that's 4.1 would remain.
Okay.
But then we think after we've updated the parks recreation parks master plan, that we need to prioritize the outcomes in order to start those projects. And then we want to implement those identified top priorities. We also want to create a funding mechanism for parks and park maintenance and capital improvements. And then upgrade existing parks with current ADA standards.
So,
And we propose to eliminate the existing 4.2 through 4.5.
So 4.1 has now become these three.
Correct.
And I think that Dave would like to see this as something separate.
yeah, I think, before you guys could implement your Parks and Recreation Master Plan, just because I've seen how this works in other places, you would probably need to create, based on what I know about your budget, you probably need to figure out a funding source first. This is like a long-term thing.
Yeah.
Like, kind
The
of,
only thing we could do in the shorter term is find a grant.
I mean, you can still put it up there and just.
Oh, wait, yeah, it doesn't need to be, but that would be the only other option.
Have other thoughts on that?
Well, I'm just thinking realistically, what can we do for this fiscal year if we're trying to do goals for this year?
Yeah, is the plan gonna be completed?
Oh, yeah, it will.
Yes.
I'm just thinking more about the implement one.
And then the prioritization,
Yeah.
maybe,
The implement one was Alex wanted to target getting going on grappling or whatever is selected, that there's some mechanism there to start that ball rolling.
Gotcha.
Because the Parks Master Plan is gonna be complete by end of summer, early fall, then what? Do we just sit on our thumbs? No, we wanna get something moving to,
Or
so that's
maybe,
kind of what I was intending.
This was more the grant opportunity.
Gotcha.
If there's interest in that. If not, that's fine. It's just, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was on the same page, that if we forego that grant cycle again, that it's a conscious decision and not like, oh, why didn't you tell us, or we forgot, or, something like that.
Can you call out Rathborn or?
Well, I see, I wanted to understand though, from the master plan and prioritization process, is Grabhorn the one you really want to go after? I mean, I don't know, maybe it's not. And so
maybe,
that's
maybe you
why,
could just be a little more specific on this, because this is very broad and probably not realistic.
We figured we'd massage the wording. Those were
Yeah,
just-
so maybe it is, secure funding or pursue funding for the top
Top
priority,
priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for like the top priority
Mhm.
project in the master plan.
Seek
So-
funding,
Pursue funding.
pursue, yeah.
I think it gives clear direction that you want to move, but without feeling like you're gonna implement.
I do have to point out that the Parks Fund runs off of only 14% of the general fund now, and I'm hearing a bleak future with all this police talk, so if we don't come up with something, then level of service will start to diminish. We will be building new, we'll be barely holding on to what we have, so just want to bring that up to the forefront. It's kind of where we're at.
Okay, so you would have complete the updates. Prioritize, the master plan. Create a funding mechanism for parks maintenance and operation or development.
CIPs,
CIP list.
capital improvement.
Projects.
Maintenance and park development.
Yeah.
Again, I'm thinking of the public out.
Yeah, no, good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
And then pursue funding. And update existing parks with current ADA standards. Yes?
That doesn't mean we're going to get it all done, but we can start upgrades. Like Dave was talking about, small little things that can happen in each park.
Okay. So if maybe it's prioritize. Again, just trying to be transparent. You guys aren't gonna do it all, but you're gonna.
When we
For the
fill
plan.
these action plans, there's a time frame. It's 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 infinite. I mean, we'll identify that when these are drafted up.
Okay, is the council okay with these objectives?
Ask, is it possible to do any work on some of the parks that we know need to be developed? Like, for example, Chapman Landing, where do we stand with kind of coordination with Army Corps of Engineers and trying to understand what the limitations are with developing that? Like, has any of that started?
We had
Oh,
those, we
yeah.
had those 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all completed.
When the city acquired Chapman Landing, we went and sat down at their downtown Portland office and went through every aspect
So
of
that's
that.
ready to go.
We're aware of what those challenges are, but without direction and money, there's nowhere we can go with it. So
What
We
about
need
like,
the plan to be complete, right, in
Right,
order to know if that's even a priority.
Right.
Okay.
Over something else.
Yeah.
what about like, parking up at Vista? I know that's been a challenge, like,
that site has its limitations. That's some of, but once again, it goes back to completing the master plan, having a clear vision that the entire community has buy-in on, and then we'll start that ball rolling.
and if no viable parking can be identified for Vista,
That doesn't make a very good park.
it doesn't,
It's
but
an
then
area.
it's
I mean,
in our parks inventory and, you know, it's like Parker's master plan and baked into the 50-year plan in terms of acres for residents. So is that something that we need to figure out?
Well, it would always be available as an open space. It just may be something that you have to hike or bike to utilize because of limited parking.
Yeah.
There's different ways that it gets developed. I mean, it's not that we're gonna take it out of the inventory. We would never do that. It's just that you may not get to park there, or you might have to find street parking a block or two away or something, you know, to utilize that. So
Okay, let's hear what we got in infrastructure. It sounds like we're okay on parks.
Address aging infrastructure, so that's.
For the goal.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, 5.1, determine process and costs to complete city facility master plan. 5.2, capacity upgrade for wastewater treatment facilities.
Okay.
Stays the same. Got rid of 5.3. Five point four, update PSP and transportation SDCs. Complete ARPA funded infrastructure projects. And then implement projects identified for funding. We took that from.
Oh, yeah, that's what we moved over.
You feel like it's all compartmentalized, everything Public Works does is now in these
Yes.
two categories.
Any objectives or any objections? To what's been proposed for infrastructure or any questions? The group support what's been proposed here? Staff feel like this is measurable and realistic? Specific enough?
And Dave, the public works director was in this group and he felt good about this, right? Yeah.
Okay. All right. How are you guys feeling about the goals?
And I have a question, Sarah.
Yeah.
So I guess some of the stuff that was being brought up and wanted to stay on the goals list was because they think, well, it's not gonna be implemented if it's not in the goals, or if something comes up. This doesn't just restrict only staff and council to work on, but this is just something that we measurables that we could achieve, right?
So best practice is that if you are going to veer from your council goals, you need to tell staff what comes off the list. They're building their work plans based on this, they're building a financial plan based on this. So if there's another priority that comes up that the council wants to direct staff to work on over the year, then staff will share with you whether or not there's capacity to do that. And if there isn't, you need to figure out what comes off the list. That's typically how it works in other places. And it happens often. There are things that come up that nobody anticipated global health pandemic. That took up a lot of staff capacity to figure out how to shift. There was not a lot of progress on goals that year. That had been set in prior to that starting.
And sometimes on a positive note, an opportunity arises that it's something that, you know,
Right.
you're really interested in pursuing. And so we pivot and bring it to you and do that.
But no, but that's
like
the
that,
point,
right.
yeah, like ARPA dollars, but that is the point of like having this stuff documented, and that when the council makes that decision, it's a conscious decision. of like, we're telling the city manager that we're okay adjusting our expectations on progress on some of these things because we're consciously directing you to do this other thing as a body. That's how it's supposed to work. It works pretty well in most places, but yeah, it's hard. Those issues come up and you do have to consider how you prioritize. And there's also delays that come up, or like we talked about, things that are outside of the city's control that are gonna impact progress on some of this stuff. Not a perfect science, which I know can be frustrating.
Is this a time to ask if something can be put on or not?
Yes, is there anything missing from the list? Yeah,
I don't know if this would rise to the level of a goal, but there's been a lot of talk about like a shared use agreement with the school being developed. Is that?
So I think if we want it on the list in the parks and the EDC recommendations, you know, do we need to consider, that's what I'm asking about additions. Do we need to look at what those committees are suggesting to us and ask and put them on our prioritized list?
Or see if they
Or
make
just-
it with
or see if they fit
with the
somewhere.
others, yeah.
yeah, I mean, are there major things missing? I was hoping that that would have been some of the stuff that would have come up through your discussions for your small groups, but
It doesn't look like not a lot got added.
Can you explain to me what the shared use agreement would look like? I mean,
Yeah.
at this point,
So there's other kind of formal models with cities, I think like San Diego was one that we looked at, where they will share gyms and fields. I think the city shares some responsibility for the maintenance costs, operating costs for use of those clubs and that. So
do you see this ready to, do we have what for city league? I mean, to go to our public and say, look, you can come to the city, sign up to use the field. We've got the okay from the high school. So you sign up through the city.
yeah, what we were hearing, like particularly around softball, there was a constraint of like available fields for softball teams and that, and even the soccer fields, but maybe that's been remedied with the new turf field. I'm not sure where that stands, but
So the only goal I see on the Parks Committee that I think would involve us is goal number 2, work with city council, city staff, school board, school athletic staff, and key sports leaders to negotiate a shared land use agreement that will benefit Scappoose athletes and public recreation use and assist in preserving Scappoose land and tax dollars.
so in the interest of time, is there support from the group? Yes, there are other cities that have these in place. Boston, Tigard has one, Tualatin has one.
I'm not in favor of saying that we adopt one. I'm in favor of saying that we explore a shared use agreement with these other entities.
Okay, so that's
Because
the,
they might not
that's
agree.
the proposal on the table. Is there support to add that to the list in parks?
A staff report about, specifically, is it a staff report?
No,
about-
we need to meet with all these people and we're included, and we need to have a meeting and decide what it looks like and if we want to do it. So I don't think it should say adopt because the other parties might not be willing to do that. I think we explore a shared use agreement with those people.
Yeah, which that is definitely a use of staff time to pull that together.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a good idea.
Okay,
It should come up in the master plan. Usually they should bring
So
that
I
up.
actually did briefly chat with the
Yeah.
superintendent about it. He didn't seem super open to it. He didn't say no, but he just said there wasn't a lot of appetite for it currently. That doesn't mean we can't still continue to push for it, but he wasn't real optimistic when I spoke with him. But it is something that's come up from the
Maybe it
committee and we've
starts.
talked to, and we've spoken a little bit in detail, but he was very non-committal.
They're very concerned about liability.
Yeah.
And not just on this, like after school care, they were very concerned about liability.
okay, so again, I want,
Yeah.
is there support to explore this? Yes,
Pursue.
yes. Yeah, so it's the exploratory phase, yes. Potential shared use agreement, yes. Okay, so we're gonna add that to parks.
It's just a big goal they had.
Any other big ones missing?
Plenty trees.
Yes.
Economic development says that they want to update the design aesthetic standards from our municipal code. So would they they're gonna work on that and then they pitch it to us, so it's not like it has to be on our goal, because I'm not gonna work on.
Megan, that's already gonna be done as part of the year.
Perfect.
So, and has it been communicated to them that that is happening as a part of that plan? And so are they gonna do separate work on this
The
though?
thought was to get it in front of them early so that they can
Okay.
have some input on it, and then it should dovetail
So
nicely.
this can still be something they participate in. Okay, got it.
So I have I know committees have their own goals. Are we implementing their goals into our goals?
I
Is
think,
that my
yes.
understanding?
yeah, I think kind of the question from staff was just making sure that when they come to you with these lists is if there are goals in here that would require a lot of staff time, that you bless it as council. And then just generally speaking, that if you are okay with the goals that they have envisioned for themselves, that again, you're saying yes to those goals.
You just want to make sure things are in alignment. There's no sense in
With your
having a
vision.
committee off and working on a bunch of stuff that's
If you
not
don't like, yeah.
And we can decide those details later. I just want to make sure that if there's one that actually pertains to us and staff time, that it gets on the list. Or money wise. So there is another one from Parks. It says, signage, including for parks, wayfinding, pertinent information, natural resources. My question is, who's going to pay for the signage that they're exploring? So I don't know if it's, they're spending a lot of hours trying to find and create wayfinding signage and working with the county. Is that a waste of their time? Are we gonna buy the signs in the end and then we never wanted them to work on that? So I just don't know if city signage is something that we want on the goal list because it does directly affect us. We will have to pay for those signs.
I mean, we are, Dave, do you have any thoughts on the cost?
Well, we just need more clarification of what it is they're asking. As
Okay.
far as typical, green signs that say park this way and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah,
that's an improvement. That's not a problem. If
Yeah.
this is something more decorative, type, or something,
Right.
then we'd have to look at
I
it.
believe, Commissioner Garrett is gonna come to the next meeting to the Park and Rec committee and talk about that specifically. Is that right? If that, I saw that in the
he had,
agenda.
so he had signage, he wanted to speak with you all, about, but it's specific to the CZ Trail. And it was just a specific look that they had designed for the trail itself. That was the one where I emailed you, just to let you know that Michael had approved that in the past. But that wasn't specific to all parks or anything like that. That was just for the trail.
Okay.
One more on, that's on here, recreation, we talked about calendar potentially being developed. Do we need a formal goal around that? So being a combined,
I mean, I think that
Community
falls under the
calendar.
outreach and one. Personally, knowing that that's something that people want is good. Again, it's kind of directive. It's kind of like she was saying, blessed by council, right? If you want that, it doesn't have to be a goal, but then a goal that you wish to happen, and it gives us the ability to go do it.
Sorry, I have one more. It's in conjunction with the school district. We're working on a land acknowledgement and I'd like that whatever the land acknowledgement is from the school district, that we look into that. But whatever that is, in terms of arrowheads or Indian heads or different pictures and colors that are being used around town, I really think it's important that we as a city, like the school district, initiate a relationship with the tribes of the Grand Ronde.
It has to be part of branding. Incorporated into that, or is it being incorporated into that?
I see it differently.
They are not involved in that process.
Okay.
So we have totem poles in the city that aren't recognized by that. There's certain things we have in the city, certain art that is not accepted by them. They've toured, and so I feel like the school district is doing their part to make sure that what's visible in their buildings and their branding, and I think that we should do the same. It says in our vision statement, specifically Chinookan people that were here before, and I'd like us to make that effort to connect with the tribe.
So what is the specific proposal? Not sure. Okay, I'm hearing yes.
Establish a relationship with the tribes of the Grand Ronde.
Would they be part of the group that's already established with the school district?
It's the same, it would be the same people.
So we just participated in that.
Yes,
I think it's a good idea. So would that be another liaison, I suppose, huh? Something
it
like
would
that.
be me.
Yeah.
I'm helping author the land acknowledgement, but I mean, it's fine. I just think that it would take staff time and resources, and it would be, the marketing guy, Dan, who, is doing some of these things. It would require them to consult with the tribes as well.
So would it maybe go under community and be like established relationship with?
Yeah, that's what establish.
As the goal language.
Attempt to establish.
Is there support from the council for this, to add this to the community livability? 1, 2 yeses.
Should it be more open than just the Grand Ronde? Because I've gotten feedback, tension between other tribes that have been in this area and decisions made by Grand Ronde.
I personally agree. I'm 6th generation. Chief Concomley was my great grandfather, and we're not a recognized federal tribe, right? So there's a lot of strain in that, but they're the ones that we have the MOU with,
With the school district does.
and the city.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, so establish the relationship, maybe just, could it be frames to be more broad in case you guys find some inclusive, or do you want it to just establish the relationship with the Grand Ronde?
I think we should focus on the Grand Ronde, and if there are other opportunities come up, the Shiddukin group is actually focused on trying to get federal approval, and they're
Absolutely.
very active in doing that. But I think for right now, because that's the tribe that has authority over this area here, that we were allowed to keep our Indian mascot because we entered into an agreement with them. So I think that's the one that we need to focus on. If other opportunities come up, we would like to.
Is
Look
there
at that.
support? Can I hear support? Yes, yes.
Is that said correctly, Peter?
I understand what you're saying.
Establish, or we might want to play with the wording on this, the established relationship with both squishy, but I don't think we have time to get into that right at the moment, but I think I can look at the team on how to.
And there are a lot of people that are going to the tribes now, and so we need to be really respectful of their time, just because they're having to educate a lot of people on a lot of issues. That's a big burden.
Okay, so to kind of wrap up for today, because we're getting through our time here. The team agreement, I think you guys identified some good stuff in your expectations today. So I think we can bring that back in some sort of draft form for the council, and you guys can decide if you want to add to it. The exercise I have planned for you is just to kind of revisit that and figure out, thinking about these goals, what else you guys needed or to be successful in advancing this work and working with staff, working amongst yourselves. So you can continue to reflect on that, and when that language comes forward, you can decide if it needs any update or modification. As far as just to kind of wrap it up, I just want to check in with everybody and see where you are on the goals. I know not everybody got everything that they, wanted and dreamed for, but just on a scale of 1 to 5, how are we feeling about clarity, being heard? Were you heard? Do you have clear direction for what's going to be worked on over the next year? And just in general, how you're feeling? So 5 is absolutely really excited. 1 is like, nope, we totally missed the mark. Start with Kim.
I will be a 5 if we can also clearly communicate to the partners that kind of got dropped off, that we haven't lost, like OMIC, like the senior center. I just want to make sure they're comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go.
5, I feel like cutting the ones that we did will really help us focus and prioritize these. So, yeah.
Megan.
5 actionable. We can meet them this next year. I feel good about measurable goals.
Okay, Dave, how you feeling?
I think it's a good list. I've sat through several of these now, and I think that's all something that we can actually deliver on, so, yeah. Okay.
Chris,
Learning a lot.
learning a lot. Okay, good. Carol?
I'm in the same boat with Chris. I'm learning a lot, but I think it went well.
Good. Lori?
This is my first council retreat, and it's a great process, and I think everyone did a great job, and I hope everyone felt heard. This seems very reasonable to me.
Jeanette?
Ditto.
Isaac?
Our goals.
Mark Gold?
Yeah, I think that list, it's very actionable, which is a great percent.
Yeah, I like the fact that they're clear and objective, so we have a better understanding.
think it's been good. I'm looking forward to see them all written out so we can, look at it more carefully, but it's been a good process.
All right, great. Tyler?
I am a 4 because I feel like we missed some unity on, we missed an opportunity to unite more on the safety issues, which are undoubtedly the biggest issues that are facing the city of Scappoose right now.
It's the best goal-setting meeting you've had so far with you. I think, looking at it before we talked about actionable, I think we can come up. But I will try to make sure Tyler's voice is heard as well as we move forward and try to address those issues. But the goals that we have in front of us, I think give us a good foundation to start with. And then I do hope if something comes up mid-year, maybe homelessness also throws something at us, we have the ability to maybe set another goal there in the middle without affecting these for a middle way.
Yeah, and I think as you guys get into your budget process, you'll probably get some more clarity on capacity and opportunity for that, and as you gain more information.
So since we didn't get to liaison roles, Mayor, I don't know if you want to, if you're still thinking you want to rethink the roles, in which case we could push out the appointments, or you could have everybody just simply email you what they actually would prefer and you can make the decision based on that.
That's fine. I think we're really close. There was just one question here or there that I thought I would have to adjust. I mean, are we okay with the county commission goal?
I
for
think
at
it'd be
least
really
on-
nice to
I
have
think
that,
we're
yeah.
open to it. It will be like the other ones where you just go and listen. And I want to reach out to Andrew and Jeanette a little bit, see if there's differences you want to do. I got an economic development committee group, Port of St. Helens. We were talking to Columbia County. We're talking about, do we really need it? So there's a couple there. But I'll reach out just to make sure we're covered, and we'll try to keep it on for Monday.
Okay, if for some reason you want to move it, let me know. And then we did have one quick thing we wanted to pass out. So Treadway contacted us, and I know that there had been a desire for the event on, it was the 18th and 19th, correct? So they got back to us. They were really apologetic, but said that they couldn't do it that day and suggested the 12th. We talked to Run for Neil. They said they could do it that day. So it doesn't seem like it's gonna cause any huge hiccups to move it. However,
August 12th.
yeah, however, if there's any major concern, we can put it on an agenda later for more discussion. So we do have this letter to pass out from Treadway.
Yep, and just to let y'all know too, they do think that based on their attendance records of other events, that moving it a week earlier isn't gonna hurt. It might actually help with attendance, because people are gonna be further away from starting school.
Anyway, sorry that didn't work out. Anyway, bit of a scheduling issue there, but they did write this letter to all of you, so.
Oh,
He'll pass them
I'll
out.
pass them
So
out. You're just there.
one for each of you.
Joe, I don't know, can we stay more like 10 minutes and cover that, or?
Yeah, I'd love to get it over with, but I don't want to take up.
Yeah, while you guys do your thing, I'm gonna just kind of start cleaning up and collecting, but I do just want to tell you, like, you guys did a tremendous amount of work in one day. Like, not a lot of councils also included orientation as part of that, so I know that takes up a chunk of the time, but I think it was important because you have so many new folks on your team. And like a lot of groups accomplish this, like I just finished the same exercise and we did it in a day and a half. And so to be able to condense it down in this, just be thinking about what is the right format for the next time you do this, whether you keep that orientation in or you add more time to it if you want it all, because I know it's a lot of work to try and accomplish in one day. So I just, and making sure that people feel heard, I always just want to be sensitive that like, it is hard for a group this size for everybody to feel heard in this format with these like really meaty topics. So I think you guys did a good job moving through, and sorry if I had to just keep you rushing through because what you gotta do to get to that. So I wish you all the best of luck in achieving all of your goals. I'll be working with Alex and your team to get this in a format to bring back to the council. So more to come on that. Thank you for your participation, your engagement, your kindness, your playing along with your ground rules. I hope you guys have a great year.
Thank you.